I know no better advocate for the region, and like in previous years, today has given us a first hand of the history and the culture and the economic benefit of not only Sandusky, but our #1 natural resource of Lake Erie and the entire region that provides for this great state. I want to again thank my good friend Senator Randy Gardner and Representative Arndt for their hospitality and all their hard work that they've put in to make this day possible, along with the City of Sandusky, the Mayor, the Chamber of Commerce, and all the entities that have played a huge part in this. Finally, I want to take the opportunity in a moment to recognize the men and women who give of themselves in the service of fellow Ohioans. Our military veterans, our firefighters, our police officers, EMS personnel, would you all please stand right now and be recognized for your service. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great and distinct honor to introduce to you my friend, the current President of the Senate, Larry Obhoff.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And like the Speaker, I would like to take a moment to thank the people of Sandusky for your warm hospitality and for welcoming us here today. Is there a quorum of the Senate present? The Chair recognizes the President Pro Tem, Senator Peterson.
President, a quorum of the Senate is present.
Is there a quorum of the House present? The Chair recognizes Speaker Pro Tem, Representative Scheuring.
Mr. President, a quorum of the House is present.
A quorum of the 132nd General Assembly being present, this joint session will come to order. We invite our guests to please rise as we open with prayer. We will be led in prayer this evening by Rabbi Samuel R. Weinstein from the Temple Shomer Emumen in Sylvania, Ohio.
Eternal Sovereign, who has given us the earth and its beauty to be our home, help us to rejoice and be glad in it. Let us embrace this and each new day with renewed vigor and vitality as we strive to make our state a better place for all who live here. Strengthen, O God, the spirits of our public servants as they labor to meet the needs of our citizens. Help all assembled here to be grateful for the special privilege of democracy. May our elected officials have the strength to make their aspirations achievements, and may they use their vision to bring light to places of darkness and despair. Grant, O God, all who govern, wisdom and discernment, compassion and understanding. Spur them on to greater efforts that strengthen the bonds between all people, and be with them as they labor to increase the common store of good for all who call Ohio home. Establish the work of their hands, grant them the courage to act out of conviction, and may selfless service be the foundation of their every deed. Blessed are you, O God, who has given us the ability and the responsibility to clothe in dignity all those created in the divine image. Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi. Will everyone please remain standing for the presentation of the colors by the Ohio National Guard Joint Ceremonial Color Guard and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor and pleasure to present the Governor of the great state of Ohio, John Kasich. Ohio Governor John Kasich.
Thank you very much. Well, I want to thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, and thanks to all the members of the General Assembly for bringing this joint legislative session to Sandusky and the shores of course, our Great Lake. For the people of the city that's about to celebrate 200 years of history with their bicentennial in 2018, I hope this session and all the events surrounding our visit here will go down as one more historic event for Sandusky to be remembered for years to come. We love being here. With that in mind, I want to give special thanks to the people of Sandusky and Erie County, the local officials, law enforcement, the community leaders. Had a beautiful visit at the Boys and Girls Club today. That was great. Who have laid out the red carpet for us. And of course, thank you to our hosts here at the Historic State Theater. I mean, everybody would say, wow, to this theater. Huh? For those that don't live here, how about a round of applause for what they have here? I hope you'll welcome our Lieutenant Governor, Mary Taylor. Mary, stand and give a wave, would you? And the members of my cabinet and staff who are with us this evening, they've been out about in the community all day. And one of the traditions of the state of the state is for the cabinet to get out and listen and learn about the things that we can do to help. Would the cabinet just stand for a second and recognize a little applause from the people that are here tonight? Now, I have to tell you, I've been in love with Ohio's North Coast and this part of the state for a long, long time. You see, when I was a kid, my mom and dad used to pack up the car, and we would drive up to Vermilion, not far from here. We'd leave, there we go, we'd leave Pittsburgh, and we'd drive, and some of you heard me say this before, we would cross into Ohio, and my Uncle Harry, who was always with us, and he'd turn and he'd look at me and he'd say, "Johnny, we've reached the promised land." And that's how we thought about Ohio, and I have so many good memories and summers here on the lake. And of course, this region continues to generate good memories for hundreds of thousands who come here for the recreation, the resources, and the hospitality Lake Erie coast is known for. And Sandusky is at the heart of it, and I want you to know I detoured today, maybe even broke a law, but went over Cedar Point so I could look at the roller coasters. I want you all to know that. And we're investing a lot in our lake. Randy Gardner is always on top of that, and our coastal resources to make the water cleaner and keep it that way. About $2.5 billion have been invested in Lake Erie since the start of the administration. Yeah, we want to make it cleaner, and we're aimed to keep it clean, and I hope those that come after me will realize this is the great, great jewel of the state of Ohio, and that's the Great Lake Erie. And we also gave a $1 million grant that we announced here yesterday to the city so they can work to restore wetlands in the Sandusky Bay that filter pollutants, and they make Lake Erie cleaner. I hope you like that. These are investments in water and natural resources, the quality of life, but of course they're also investment in economic growth, because we know that when we take care of the world around us, it becomes another reason for job creators to want to put down roots here and to grow. As I've said many times before throughout my career, our greatest moral purpose as governmental leaders is to create an environment of job creation in which people can have work, in which people can support their families. You know, I can think back just a short 6.5 years ago, and some of you, Bill Batchelder, who's here, is on the video, Tom Niehaus, Keith Faber, who sits out here. These were the leaders, Cliff and Larry. We'd lost 350,000 jobs. That's, that's filling Ohio Stadium, 3 times plus. We had an $8 billion deficit, and I went to New York, and a rating agency said, "We're going to tear up your credit cards." And I said, "Give us a chance." Now, this is old news to many of you, but I'm saying it again because we do have new members of the legislature here who never went through that experience, and you remember that experience. It was tough, it was trying, and we came out stronger. Now we are up 460,000 new jobs in our state. And we're working to create a more diversified economy. Why? So that when one sector goes down in a tough economic time, another sector can lift us up. It's called diversification, and we really do believe in it. Now, manufacturing and agriculture, of course they matter. They're 2 cornerstones of our state, but they're changing as well. Look at the auto industry. Engines and transmissions are more powerful, durable, and efficient, more efficient than ever. And we'll talk about autonomous vehicles in a moment. In aviation, breakthroughs are making jet engines quieter and cost less to operate. And think about GE down in Cincinnati making those engines. It's pretty awesome. And in agriculture, you all know up here, farmers are using the latest research to be more productive so food scientists can meet the demands of a growing population around the world. The world's job creators know that we in Ohio make things. That's why they're turning to us for their future success, and they're using new technologies and innovations that dramatically change the way that products are made. Just down the road in Norwalk, the German auto parts maker Borgers has spent $60 million on a new state-of-the-art plant that will create jobs for more than 230 workers, earning $8 million in payroll. And near Dayton, the giant Chinese auto glass maker Fuyao transformed an abandoned car factory. The auto company left. It was an old factory. And now Fuyao's gone in and transformed that operation, and they now employ more than 2,000 Ohioans who supply all the major automakers with advanced glass. This is great news for us. And Amazon Prime, Amazon Now, Amazon Cloud Computing, it's just amazing. They're an amazing innovator, have combined highly trained workers and best-in-class process, and they're turning retailing inside out. They have 3 cloud computing operations in the United States, 3 operations in the whole country. They've got one on the West Coast, out in Seattle, one on the East Coast in Virginia, and the third one is located right here in the good old state of Ohio, a major cloud kitting operation. And our universities are now beginning to train people. Our community colleges are training people for those cloud computing jobs. Now, here's what's really astounding, and I'm sure most don't know. Amazon now has hired 6,000 Ohioans to work in their operations, and we believe with more to come. That's looking towards the future. We have Exploris. Exploris is a fast-growing leader in the health data analytics field. Data analytics, we study stuff and we know what works. If you get knee surgery, we know if you get a shot in that knee, you'll heal faster than if you don't. They use data to figure out the ways in which to best treat people. It was a startup operation in the Cleveland Clinic and was purchased by IBM Watson. Now, here's the beauty of it. Instead of IBM Watson trying to move this operation out of Ohio, they're planning it right here. They're not going anywhere. They like what they see in Ohio. There's Cardinal Commerce, a leader in financial technology and digital commerce that just opened a new headquarters in Mentor, and Interstate Chemical, which is investing more than $50 million in a new plant in the city of Oregon, not too far west of here. I don't know if anybody's here from there. And Alkermes, a pharmaceutical manufacturing. It's growing its business right where Cliff is from, the speaker, and what they're doing is developing products to battle addiction worldwide. These job creation stories, and more like them, demonstrate the way our state, with Jobs Ohio's support, is attracting businesses of the 21st century from a range of different industries. Now think about it. Not just agriculture, not just making things, but it's across the board. That's what's given strength and resilience to our state. How'd we do it? Folks, some of it, can be viewed as boring. We had to stabilize our budget within existing resources. You see, we reassured job creators that Ohio knows how to fix problems itself, and we don't need to go and impose anything on them. We can deal with our problems. We cut taxes. We eliminated income taxes for almost every small business in the state. They're the engines of job growth, and Keith Faber, I want to thank you for that. Eliminating the taxes on small business helps them all, just like the place where I had some great fish right here in Sandusky earlier today. We want them to have a power to expand. We streamlined regulations, committed ourselves to constantly improving job training, which is a big, big deal, so job creators can have the workforce they need, and Ohioans can take advantage of all the new opportunities coming our way. Now look, people think a state of the state, you just get up and just say things, okay, falsehoods, or you just puff yourself up. That's not my purpose here tonight. I'm really here tonight to talk about where we were, what we've gained, and where we're going. Last fall, a survey of CEOs named Ohio one of the 10 best places to do business. Last fall. That's 34 places higher than we ranked in 2010. So when they start looking around the country about where we're going to create a business, we went from 34 to one of the top 10 to do business. Forbes ranks us the 11th best business or state for business. That's up from 38th. So we went from 11th with Forbes from 38th just 5 years ago. And there have been other good ratings, like the one from Middle Market Executives. That's sort of the middle-sized company that placed us first in growth in the country. And this is all great, of course, but we can't stop now. The Midwest is ripe for investment. It's ripe for development. It's ripe for growth. And Ohio is at the center of it. The only thing that can hold us back is if we sit on our hands or stop and rest. I heard somebody talking, so much has been done. Can't we take a break? Can't we slow down? Yeah, if you want to lose. We cannot slow down. This is the 21st century. We've got to put our foot on the gas, and I can guarantee you, because I know other states see our success, and they want it. So staying on the right track means keeping up the same energy that got us here and building on the ideas that we know work. Conservative budgeting, even in these tight times. More tax reform. More work to streamline regs, more progress on connecting education and our workforce training with job creators. Get them trained for what's coming. These are all critical to our future success, and of course our budget really reflects things on every one of these fronts. Now folks, we have to protect our hard-fought fiscal stability again. It's priority number one in the budget. Look, I used to be a legislator. I know there are a lot of demands and a lot of needs. But you know, if we do not hold the line on spending, I will tell you that we'll get crushed economically. And I'll tell you something, I appreciate what all of you have done. I deeply appreciate it. I mean, I can't tell you how much. And I'm not running for anything, okay? I'm just thanking you as the executive of this state, because what I know is that when the state revenue fell below what we'd already projected because we had conservative projections, we didn't go in the hole. Do you know how many states have been in the hole? Do you know how many states that have had a cut? And it has not been easy, but we're managing. I work with Larry and I work with Cliff, and we have kept spending in check. It's a reminder that challenges can always lurk around the corner. So we have to always hold the line on spending. That's more true in this budget than it's really been in a number of years. The revenues have grown slowly, even though we have conservative projections. The way that we respond to these challenges, of course, it shows the world that we can take it, that we can navigate rough waters. And it's a beacon. It's a beacon. When we can do our job and keep it together and do the right thing, people around the country, and believe me, I was just in Europe, around the world, they say, you folks have it. We like what you're doing. A lot of you ask, okay, Kasich, you know, we never get thanked when we reduce the income tax. And now you want to reform the tax code and you want to have some go up and the income tax go down. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. You look at the states across this country that have the fastest economic growth, they either have no income tax or very low income taxes. It matters. It matters to what people are going to pay. So we're never going to be as competitive as we need to be if we don't keep paying attention to this, but we can. But we also need to reform our convoluted municipal tax system. Our tax department estimates that job creators could save $800 million if, in fact, we can reform this municipal tax system. That's $800 million that can be put back into those companies to grow and to hire. And by the way, it adds nicely to the more than $5 billion in tax cuts that we've had in our legislature during this administration. That's more than any state in the country, more than any state in the country. And then, you know what? We also cut the workers' comps and made refunds to businesses across the state and schools and local governments, $5 billion. I mean, it's amazing, you know? I don't want anybody coming and complaining, but when I was running, it's all they talked about, how bad the workers' comp system was. And now we've been able to rebate $5 billion, and I got a sneaky suspicion that the workers' comp board's going to pass another $1 billion in rebates, some of which is going to go to local governments and schools in tough times. And it's a great story for our state. And we want to know what you think. You know, we got a budget over there. You got ideas. They're better ideas than we have. We're for it, okay? But let's please get this municipal income tax burden passed so that we can in fact help these businesses. The barrier to these reforms and many of the others we achieved together in the past 7 years is the age-old fear of change. In a rapidly changing economic environment, in the digital age, in the age of worldwide markets, we can't do what we used to do. We have to anticipate and meet change head-on, because if we hesitate, the future will pass us by, and we must leverage change to our advantage, and that means taking risks. So when we think about Ohio and our success in the previous century, wasn't it because we were risk takers? Think about it. It's why we are who we are today. We were at the center of the Industrial Revolution because so many people dove headfirst into new ideas. Think about this, the Industrial Revolution, new ideas about what to make and how to make it, and they accepted no limits on how they could go. It was all about risk-taking, and we don't need to go any further just down the road, because I just saw that Thomas Edison freeway. Milan, perfect example of what I'm talking about. Thomas Edison, think Thomas Edison was our guy, okay? He wasn't just a brilliant and creative innovator. The guy took risks. He never gave up. He put everything he had on the line. Well, what do you think Edison would be working on today, huh? Think about it. How about the Wright brothers? You know, all that Kitty Hawk nonsense. All they had was wind and sand, okay? All the innovation occurred in Dayton, Ohio. Those Wright brothers were great. And they tell me, you should all read this book about the Wright brothers by David McCullough. I mean, nobody paid any attention to them. They're down in Dayton flying airplanes. My mother said when she was a little girl, they'd run out of the house to look at airplanes. They're flying this airplane around in Dayton, and a guy from the Dayton Daily News told me that when they actually went out and saw it, they put it on page 13. Must not have been bad news or something, you know? But think about the Wright brothers and Edison. Now look, folks, you learn from history. They launched entirely new industries. There was none of these things that Edison did. The Wright brothers launched aviation. I mean, it was unbelievable. And their inventions and innovative technologies led to new jobs and prosperity for generations, and not just in America, all over the globe. The new Edisons and Wright brothers, they're out there. Some of them may be right here tonight, and we need to find them and encourage them. That's why I've proposed creating a Chief Innovation Officer for Ohio to help keep us ahead of the curve in a world where technology is changing faster and more profoundly than ever. This person will lead a new Ohio Institute of Technology. We're not expanding the government here, folks. We can rearrange it and make things work better. That person will mine our strengths, coordinate our resources, and always looking ahead to what's coming next, whether it's advanced materials, the latest in biotechnology, aerospace, robotics, sensors, and other areas that we haven't even thought about. You see, we have a lot of stuff going on, a lot of research in Ohio. It's not coordinated, it's not put together, it's not focused. We have such a great opportunity to create new things here in the 21st century. And if we come up with these ideas, they can change our world in the very near future. Let me tell you about cars. Cars are going to look completely different inside, folks. Now, just buckle up here. You won't touch the controls because there isn't going to be a steering wheel or any pedals. Do you know this is coming? This is within a decade. Traffic deaths will fall dramatically, if not disappear. You know why? No more drunk driving, distracted driving. We may decide not even to own our own cars, since we'll be able to order them up on demand whenever we need one. Here's one of the things that people think is going to happen. We're going to own an autonomous vehicle. We only drive our car 10% of the time. Think about it. You don't drive your car all the time. So you drive your car, it's fully autonomous. Somebody wants to rent your car. You send the fully autonomous vehicle to them. They pay for renting your vehicle, which you use to pay your car bills. And at the end, when they're done, they send the car back and you go home. This is coming. I mean, this is just amazing and exciting. One of the places that we won't visit as often, the grocery store. You know, now you got Amazon, right now, delivering things from the grocery store. But drones are going to be delivering our groceries, and maybe even a hot, fresh pizza right to our doorsteps. Anybody ever seen the Jetsons? But let me also tell you, drones are going to help our farmers better manage their crops. Am I right, farmers? You're going to be able to get out in that field and figure out how to fertilize. You're going to figure out how to manage your crops better because of drones. Firefighters. They're able to more safely battle fires. And ODOT inspectors, they hang off these bridges, won't have to do it anymore. They'll have an assist from a drone that will allow them to do what they need to do without putting themselves in danger. And that's just the beginning of drones. Big data. I've already mentioned big data will lead us to better health care, what they do at the Cleveland Clinic. They find out what works, they find out what doesn't. It's almost like personalized medicine. It is so cool because they're not wasting time and you don't have to keep coming back. Think about the Cleveland Clinic. Think about technology. That's what big data is all about. But using big data will help us to unlock the answers to things like infant mortality. Why does it happen? Drug addiction. What is the pattern that leads people into using drugs? We can even use big data to tackle education challenges. We can understand what triggers dropouts. Why do we have truancy? Why do we have reading problems? I'm over there at that Boys and Girls Club and I'm looking at those young people. I want to have big dreams for them. And maybe we can help them if we can figure out how to keep them on the right path by looking at facts and figures and data and patterns. Advanced sensors also hold great promise. We're already using them. For some with disabilities, the basic act of taking a morning shower, well, let me tell you, you have somebody who's autistic that's in a group home. If they don't get a shower in the morning, you ask John Martin, he's one of the great, great people in our cabinet. He runs the Department of Developmental Disabilities. Here's what we do. He takes these sensors and they put them in the shower head. And when the shower doesn't come on in the morning, the caregivers and the family hear. And they go and make sure that the person living in that group home is okay. We had a lady who was living in a home. It cost us $147,000 a year to watch her because she used to run off. We didn't know why. Old Martin here, he figured out, let's just put some technology in this place. And he did. And when the woman has trouble, either through a sensor or some video, we find out about it. She doesn't run away anymore. We've reduced the cost of taking care of that woman from $147,000 down to $47,000. There's no limit to what we can do. Now, folks, when I talk to my friends in the technology area, and I know a lot of them, they marvel about what's coming. I talk to them about it all the time. But they also caution about the dramatic impact all of this will have on today's industries and workers. I was in Europe. I went over to the Munich conference, but then I met with people like the Siemens CEO, who's an investor in our state. I met with companies there and in London, and I heard the same thing from business leaders all across Europe. The message was the same and clear. Please listen to me. The dramatic change is coming. Assembly lines and their workers will see even more changes from robotics. Do you know the #1 occupation in America is a driver? What do you think is going to happen when we're confronted by the reality of self-driving trucks? The entire automobile supply chain workforce will face a transition from the internal combustion to the electric motor. Folks, this is coming. Make no mistake, this change will affect not just blue-collar jobs. Insurance adjusters, stockbrokers, they may be impacted by artificial intelligence. Who knows, maybe in the General Assembly will be replaced by robots. You just never know, you know? The bottom line, though, for almost, and maybe the governor as well, the bottom line for almost everybody in almost every profession is this: mothers and fathers, grandfathers and grandmothers, please, brothers and sisters, legislators, if we aren't prepared for change, people are going to find themselves out of work. Change is coming whether we like it or not, so let's accept the change but reject the fear and the hesitancy and the unwillingness to prepare. We must get away ahead of this coming tsunami. We have to act and not react. We don't want to fall behind the curve. So it leads to this question. I want you to ponder this for a second. Can education and business come together, see change as an opportunity, and help Ohio succeed in the coming brave new world? Are we preparing our kids for what's coming? Business, education, government, all of us, we all need to start thinking about what new jobs are going to exist, which ones will change, and yes, which ones might go away, and plan together for how we will help Ohioans of all ages continue to succeed in their careers. To that end, I'm announcing tonight that we're creating we call it task force, okay? When I hear governmental leaders say they're going to create a task force, they say, wake me up when they get done with their report, okay? But ours have been working. And we're bringing a variety of business and industries that will work with leading educators to look into the future, try to think what's coming, what we might lose, what we might gain, and how do we get ourselves ready for this. Frankly, I think we'll be ahead of most of the country. And they will outline what Ohio needs to do to prepare our people for the coming changes so we can make the future an opportunity rather than an obstacle. The need to leverage this coming future is why we're already moving. Ohio's already moving. You know, we're embracing technologies, these autonomous vehicles, smart roads, drone technology, be able to fly a drone out of the line of sight, data analytics to chart a more effective course, sensor technology, and improve cybersecurity. We're in a great position to capitalize on these advances. Think of the research centers. How about the Plumbrook Station, NASA's Plumbrook Station right here in Erie County, and the Glenn Research Center in Cleveland, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which is a gem, and of course our universities. We can get them to coordinate the research. Here's something most of you don't know. We have the Transportation Research Center in Central Ohio. It's the most advanced independent automotive testing facility on the continent. And our capital city beat out all the others to be the hub for intelligent transportation through the Smart City Initiative, helping us move Ohio into the pole position for the future of smart mobility. We also rank high among all the states for the quality and maintenance of our complex highway infrastructure. You saw Mr. Salazi talking about this. Many states have fallen behind in highway repairs and improvements. We have invested $14 billion on more than 7,000 projects since 2011. That doesn't mean anything to you except this. It's an increase of more than $3 billion and nearly a third of what we might normally put into infrastructure. And this has made it possible for us to free up resources, take us to the next level with new investments in these smart highways. You see, you put the fiber in the highways, the autonomous vehicles get guided by the fiber, we're putting them across the state, and then we have sensors so that cars can talk to one another. I mean, we're getting ahead. The Transportation Research Center is a little village, 4,500 acres where they can come and experiment and test with a test track. We put money into that. So is Ohio State University. So is Honda. This is exciting. It's the future. You ought to go there. We'll get you a ticket to get an entrance if you want to go down and take your kids, because it's cool to see. And you know, it's just, why did it happen? Well, you know what? Selassie kind of talked about it. See, what I wanted to do is I wanted to create some bonds against the tolls from the turnpike. But when I mentioned the turnpike, everybody freaked out. This should have been done like 30 years ago. So what we did is we issued debt, and we retired the debt from tolls from the turnpike, which gives us more resources. And people who use the turnpike frequently are basically held harmless in terms of higher tolls. So all these people that use our stuff, come into our state and leave, they pay for this. And it's given us $3 billion more in infrastructure. And we've moved projects that were going to be done in 20, 25 years from now into the 10-year window, some into a 5-year window. It's been amazing. And we're about to go and issue debt for another $1 billion. All these jobs, look at our infrastructure, look at our roads. Go drive in another state and give us a call, because people now just want to drive around in Ohio. You know, that's kind of what it's getting to. So this thing really worked for us, and it took my partners in the legislature. It took courage on the people that lived in this area, because everybody was uptight about this, but it worked. Transportation, manufacturing, agriculture, all these things that made Ohio what it is today, it will be changed in fundamental ways. But perhaps the most profound effects of technology will be seen in education, in the ways that Ohioans at all ages prepare for rapidly changing workforce needs. That means education for a lifetime. For a lifetime, constantly being educated and retraining. And we have to get ourselves and our kids ready to take on the jobs of the future. And that requires change in our education systems, and we cannot let education get in the way of learning. We cannot let education get in the way of learning. Are we preparing our kids for what I've been talking about? You think we're ready? I don't think so. I did recognize a number of Ohio schools for their innovative work. One of them was Cristo Rey. This is unbelievable. They partner with local businesses. They provide work experience for all their students. They basically create these interns. They get businesses to put these kids in. It starts in the very early years. The kids get paid. They are a constructive group of kids. We have them, some of them working in the government. They're working in industry. And these are not wealthy kids. They learn what it's like to be in a professional environment. They get excited about it, and they begin to prepare themselves for any environment because they begin to develop resilience. It's exciting. In Marietta, you know that they begin exploring careers with students starting in kindergarten. And this one lady down there, she's a saint. She went and put this whole program together, disrupted everything. And you know what she does? She says when kids are very little, she starts getting them to imagine what they might want to be based on what turns them on. And they're out there and they're working, and the businesses are involved, and the community is involved. We need more of it. There are other simple initiatives. Now look, folks, I come up with a couple things. This gets everybody worked up. First of all, I want to make sure that our teachers, when they go for their relicense, that they spend a few days working in a business, learning about the workforce needs of the community. I don't want them to go in the military. I just want them to spend a few days at the bank, at the insurance company, at the doctor's office, learning about workforce. Everybody's all up in arms about this. Come on, folks, look at what's coming, and all I want is our teachers to be more in touch with the workforce needs of their students. We love our teachers. We don't want to overburden them, but when they go to get relicensed, let's get them out there a little bit, huh? And I think it would really make a big difference for people. And I want to put, here's another one. Now maybe we can't find 3 business people, I don't know. I want to put non-voting business people on the school board. Why? Because I want the non-voting business people to start telling the school board about what the curriculum ought to look like, about how we can have flexibility, about how we can have more kids out in the workforce. We need to get them out with the people who do the hiring. So these are just 2 simple, tiny little things that I think we need to get done. And I've talked to members of the legislature, and they've got some ideas. I said, look, you got better ideas, we'll do it. But we have to make sure that we create a flexible school system. And I'm with all of you. There's too much testing of these kids all the time. We keep working on it, okay? That doesn't mean no testing. We got to find out what they're learning, but also getting them out there with Steve Wilson at his bank when he was running that bank down there before he got into politics. That'd have been a great experience. And I just think that kids need to see this. Universities, they're going to be a thing of the past if they're not careful. Rising costs are not sustainable. People aren't going to pay this. I mean, their costs of operation or the way those costs are reflected in what students and parents have to pay. I want to give a shout out to Dr. Drake at Ohio State. He bundled up all of his energy operations and he leased them out for a 50-year plan. He's getting a $500 million up front that he's going to use to reduce scholarships. Why? He's thinking differently. Our universities and colleges need to embrace technologies and new ways of learning that can help bring these costs under control. These community colleges, they rock, I'm telling you. They get it, okay? They've teamed up with Western Governors University. It's an online college that allows students to pay a single, flat, low rate, move along at their pace while getting credit for what they demonstrate they already know. There are like 4 specialties. You can go there and get an online degree for a fraction. Georgia Tech. I think AT&T work with Georgia Tech. We're bringing AT&T into the state to help work with us. You can get a master's degree in computer science entirely online, not a minute in the classroom, for you know how much? $6,000. Now, I asked our universities to do this. I didn't get very far with them, but I got the community colleges working on it. The other day when Amazon came in on the cloud computing, I had the president of Columbus State, and I said, I don't want any delay. What Amazon wants here for training people, I don't want any bureaucracy, red tape, obstacles, and they're going to go into Southern Ohio, and they're going to do it down there and train kids to get jobs with Amazon at a lot of money. Look, we can give kids a good education for a lot less, and things they can do. This Georgia Tech thing, these people do this in their own home. Now, I understand we go to college, we want to have that real college experience, and that will be developed. We know socialization is really important for kids, but the costs are out of control. They're going to be disintermediated, these universities. A lot of education is going to go a different way. We got to get ahead of this. And much needs to be done, but it's not beyond our reach. I'm confident we can make these changes. Just take risks. Take the risks, okay? We have this executive workforce board made up of some of the legislators serve on this board, business people, labor, they all come together. They're the ones that came up with these ideas about putting the business leaders on the school board. I mean, they're thinking, they're helping, they're participating, and they're working. The improvements we've already achieved in economic development, of course, remind us that these big changes are possible and they can pay off. Not long ago, people looked at what we wanted to do with economic development and wondered if the reforms we proposed would work, okay? So we created this economic development operation. It was moving, at the pace of a snail. So we decided we needed to reform it. We created Jobs Ohio. It's one of the first states to create an economic development agency, but over time, the old development agency stagnated. So we created this because we want Jobs Ohio to move at the speed of business. We have experienced, knowledgeable business experts working to create new jobs for Ohioans and get Ohio where it needs to be. At the top of the list, when business leaders around the globe think of where they want to be. I spend a lot of my time talking with CEOs from some of the world's largest companies, and they want to know, how did you do this? How does it work? I just had a governor in another state call me up and ask me, how did you do Jobs Ohio? I moved to change the subject because I want us to keep winning. I don't want them to figure this out for a while. Now, as Job Ohio picks up momentum and deepens its roots, I want you, members of the legislature, to know that they need deeper and better relationships with you and the people in your districts. I want you to be able to go over there anytime you want to. They are there to work to create the jobs and to help you to have more success in your district. And I have suggested to them, and you know when I suggest something, what I mean. I suggested to them that they get with this and work more and more with all of you. But they are a great organization that is extremely powerful, that's filled with people that have the experiences. Well, we got 460,000 jobs since we've come in. So anyway, ensuring that we have the basics in place, fiscal strength, lower taxes, proper regs, it opens the door for us to sell our state across the nation and the world. You know what it was like to meet with the head of Siemens? You know what it was like to meet with this company, this tier 2 auto producer that I met in London, I said, if you don't come to Ohio, look, I'm not running for anything. You don't come to Ohio, you're making a mistake of your life. We are the place to be. We got the people, we got the smarts, we got the work ethic, we got everything, and we're managing everything, and I can say it because it's all true. See, Ohio and the Midwest have a perfect opportunity to lead with the innovations and industries of the future. Here's what the fact is. The West Coast, you sit in traffic for half of your life. It costs you a fortune to live there. Your bathroom is in your living room. And then if you live on the East Coast, go over there to New York and drive around sometime. See how it is. Send your kids over there and look at what they're paying for their apartments. You see, they're beginning to realize it's too expensive. I had a guy call me the other day from Los Angeles. He said, I hired these engineers out here. He said, I got to hire them in Ohio. This is driving me crazy. You see, we have an opportunity because we have some natural things that really work for us. So if we think about all this, all these things that I'm talking about, the challenges and the excitement and the hope, because that's what this all is, it's so cool. And it allows us to ratchet it up to the next level. You know, where we are now, fine, not good enough, up, up, up. One of the most critical needs for a growing workforce, though, is healthy workers. That's why our administration and legislature have worked to make sure that those who live in the shadows or those who find themselves in tough times are not left behind. The expansion of Medicaid has brought health care to 700,000 people, 1/4 of whom have chronic illness and 1/3 are struggling with mental illness or drug addiction. Expanding Medicaid has freed up significant resources in our communities to help more people, period. We've strengthened local hospitals. We're a healthier state. Let me just tell you something quickly. I was driving home the other night from the Highway Patrol Academy, and I was coming up to Hudson and High. You legislators know where that is. There was a guy sitting on the corner, and I looked, and I thought he was combing his hair with his hand. And as I looked more carefully, he had a cigarette lighter in his hand, and he was cutting his hair with this lighter. The guy that was driving the car, my friend that was driving the car, I looked at him and I said, "That's your brother." He looked at me and said, "He's my brother too." That guy's all of our brothers. We can't ignore them. That's why I've spent so much time fighting over this health care, because I don't want to leave them behind. I don't want the drug addicted to be out somewhere. I don't want the mentally ill to be discarded, and I don't want those chronically ill to die because we couldn't get them care. And we're going to keep fighting on it. Now, I sit with these governors and these senators and congressmen. We don't need any of their money. We're not looking at this as a way to bail us out. Our Medicaid program, we need that money to keep helping people, but we don't need it to bail us out. Our Medicaid program is growing at 3%. It's growing at a flat rate. And it was 9% when we came in. And I want to thank you for the reforms that we made on nursing homes and letting moms and dads be able to stay at home. You see, we reduced the growth, and we're keeping it flat, but there's always more to do. And this guy, Greg Moody, our Director of Health Transformation, he's unbelievable. And now he's trying to develop a system. He's developing a system, both with the Medicaid and with private insurers, where they're going to start paying per performance. If a primary care doctor keeps you healthy, he or she is going to get a financial reward. We want transparency, we want to pay for results, we want to pay for excellence, and all of that will lead to lower health care costs, and they're going to follow this all over America because it's smart, it's right, it's compassionate, and it works. And thank you, Greg Moody, for what you've been doing in this whole area. Quickly, welfare reform. Cynthia Dungy runs welfare reform. Thanks to the legislature, we've been able to take 16 to 24-year-olds. You know, if you go get welfare now, you get in the line, you get your food stamps, they check a box, you go over here, you get this, they check a box. We don't like that. We want our 16 to 24-year-olds, when they go in, we'll help them. But once we help them, we want to know what the problem is. We want to know what your problem is. We want to know how we solve your problem. We want to get you trained. We want you to get a job. Welfare without a path to work doesn't work. We want these people to have opportunity, and we want them to go to work. This is 16 to 24-year-olds. When I'm gone, you got to expand this thing. We can't have people just going in and checking, people checking boxes. We have to bring back caseworkers, and we got to get at the root cause of why people are stuck. Okay. Drug addiction. 7 years ago, I went down to Southern Ohio. I wasn't even governor. And I met these ladies, and they walked in with these pictures. Well, who's on the picture? Beautiful young people, sons, daughters, football captain, cheerleader, whatever. Said, "What's up, moms?" They're all dead. We got pill mills down here, and they're passing these pills out. Ask Mike DeWine, he worked with me on this. They're passing out pills down here like they're going through the McDonald's for French fries. I said, we will shut this down. How it operated all these years, I don't really understand. We shut the pill mills down. We put the crooked doctors in jail whenever we could. DeWine asked me to hold off, and we went after them. We moved the highway patrol into more aggressive interdiction to remove illegal drugs. And here's the understand about Ohio. Why is Ohio at the epicenter of all this? Its location. The same location, 600 miles within 60% of the country, okay? That helps us get employment. But you know, it's only a day from Mexico and the drug cartels. Believe me, talk to the patrol. It's only a few hours from Chicago. We're an artery, and the patrol is busting and trying to make it so expensive that these cartels and these drug dealers aren't going to come here anymore. They had their largest seizure of heroin, meth, and prescription pill seizures last year, and it's going up and up. And when you see them sitting in the center of the highway, you know, they're not there to give you a ticket. That's, you're going 30 miles over the speed limit, you're in trouble. But if that's not what they're there, you catch you because you're going 5 miles an hour over the speed. You know what they're doing out there? They're looking because they have learned what the techniques are of the drug dealers. And they catch them. Men and women in the highway patrol do an incredible job. And they got to keep it up. If we So, we were one of the first states to create prescribing guidelines for doctors. Don't be given all this stuff. We linked our medical providers into our pharmacy system to slow doctor shopping, and the first time we're registering pharmacy technicians. You see, in the beginning, we needed guidelines. You can go and try to write a law, but you know what happens if you go too fast? You create an access issue. And for those who are chronically ill, we're not out to take your medication away. Just understand that. But you're more closely watched by your physician. But we started to study What are we getting? How's it working? We've expanded access to the overdose reversal drug to first responders, pharmacies, and families, and we created Start Talking. You know what this is all about? Talk to your kids. Talk to somebody who's not your kid. Just talk about it. 50% less likelihood if somebody would do drugs, opiates, that's how they start. I'll tell you what I worry about, the people I love. These young kids, they go to school, and then all of a sudden there's a party, and somebody says, hey, let's go in the back, they got a bowl of pills. That's the moment of truth. Got to love our kids, we got to talk to them about this. And no, the answer is no. I don't want to be cool by taking drugs. That's what we're trying to do with Start Talking. We spent nearly $1 billion on this issue of drugs. Our work is paying, look, it's paying off. A 20% reduction in opiate prescriptions. Doctor shopping has fallen by 80%. Doctor shopping, you go to this doctor, you go to that doctor, no more. And you go to the pharmacy and you ask the pharmacist what kind of things they're seeing now, and they will tell you they see progress. But we're paying for the sins of the past. You see, but we haven't done enough. That's why I announced last week that Ohio is setting strict new mandatory limits. No more guidelines, because we're comfortable with where we are now, but legal limits on how many opiates can be prescribed for acute medical procedures. 7 days of opiates for adults and no more than 5 days for children. 7 for adults, 5 for children, no more. And many of these incidents, you will not be able to prescribe these drugs. Let me tell you, one of the easiest things to do, I'm going to give you a little bit of learning here. One of the easiest things to do is just go write a law. If we'd have started with this, it would have created an access problem to so many Ohioans. Doctors would say, I'm not doing it. But we worked with them and the nurses and the dentists to get us to a point where we now understand the practice patterns of doctors. And if you are not in the 7 or the 5 day, you're practicing out of line. And you know what happens if you prescribe? If you're really doing it, we'll take your license. We're not fooling around on this. And I have all the boards, our team, forget me, all the boards have gone along with this. And I got to tell you, John Eklund, I believe, is the person that wrote giving the boards the authority to be able to do this. We don't have to pass this through the legislature. We don't have to take our time. It is done. Done now, and it's going to pay off for everybody in this state. And remember, oh, and by the way, these limits are more stringent than the recommendations issued by the CDC. And I got to praise our physicians and dentists, nurses and pharmacists. Prescription opiates are often the gateway to heroin, as 3/4 of the drug overdose victims had previously been prescribed a controlled substance. By keeping these pills away, we can help the next generation. And of course, addiction, it'll eat anybody up, right? And we all know of this. Our partnerships in fighting this have to be absolute across parties, which it is. It is. Thank God we work together. Layers of government, branches of government, the private and public sector, whichever way you want to slice it. And by the way, in your communities, you better find out everything that's available, because we find when we go into communities, people don't even know all the things that are available. So meet, coordinate, work together. Commissioners, trustees, work together, and we'll work with you. The partnership that we talk about starts at home, right at home. Right, Peterson, with your kids, right where you are at the dinner table. It rises to our schools and communities. You know, it goes to our state government, our federal government. Everyone has a role to play. I want to thank Cliff and Larry and the members of the legislature, because they've been on this. We've been total partners in this, and we're going to stay that way. Now, here's a new thought. Even as we work together on this mission, do all this, drive our strategies at prevention and treatment and interdiction, we've got to have a new idea. I'm asking the Third Frontier Commission to provide up to $20 million to help bring new scientific breakthroughs to the battle against drug abuse and addiction. These funds will target existing proven ideas that simply need an extra push to be brought to the fight. Ideas like using a simple device that connects to someone's ear that can relieve pain, and it blocks the effects of opiate withdrawal. You see, if you talk to the experts now, there are things that can work with the brain. If we can research and push, that's why we're going to spend $20 million. And Dr. Rezai, one of the great pioneers of brain development, who most of you know up at Ohio State, he thinks it's great, the Cleveland Clinic. Maybe this is going to help us to really overcome this. So I think the $20 million will be worth it, and I'm excited to see what we get, and I hope you're excited that we're thinking a little differently about all of this. You know, the crisis of drugs continues to change, so our efforts to fight it will continuously change. Through thick and thin, we've got to stay unified, supporting one another. State government will be doing its part as well by providing our communities and educators and medical professionals and other partners with new tools to help them fight this epidemic. The ultimate partnership starts with each one of us, me, you, all of us, with our children, neighbors, and everyone around us. We love our children. We care about our neighbors, so when you go to dinner, you see a kid, just tell them not to do drugs and destroy their life, because they have a purpose for which the good Lord created them. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as an American and Ohioan, I'm very concerned with how divided our country has become. One reason is that people increasingly only consume news and information that reinforces their own views. I'm sure that's no one in here. But I'm going to tell you, if you're conservative, you watch conservative television, read conservative editorials, and you listen to conservative talk radio. If you're a liberal, you listen to liberal television, read liberal editorials, and you go to the Huffington Post. Okay? Yeah, that's what we do. And then we're all experts. You see, we gave up bowling, and we took this stuff up, okay? But let me ask you a question. How can we ever learn new ideas or understand how to come together with Americans from different backgrounds unless we talk to one another and hear how others think? We got to the point where so much of the time we think we know everything, and whoever else doesn't think the way we think, they're just dead wrong. That's not America. We've seen an extreme division in our political system. I will tell you that I think work has been done in our state to minimize that. I believe it. These are fine people, the leadership, fine people. Of course the Democrats get upset. You know what? When I hear from them, I go to the Republicans. I say, treat them right. And we're trying as best we can to pull together. But you know, across this country, there's rising polarization and inability for the political parties to work together. This is not acceptable, nor is it sustainable for the good of our country and the good of our children. So he said, what do you do about it? Well, we're not going to throw away newspapers or turn off the television. I know we're not going to do that. I'll tell you what I think we can think about. I believe one of the ways in which we can begin to address this problem of polarization is for people to find commonality in challenges that lie before us. Fighting the scourge of drug addiction and death, that's not political. It's not limited to one party or one ideology or one philosophy. When somebody dies from a drug overdose, we all mourn. It's not related to what position you take. So we should fight together. Hunger in our communities. That's not liberal or conservative or Republican or Democrat. You go to Kroger, you know, they say, would you like to round up? Round up to the dollar, right? You know why? Because the money goes to the food banks. That's at least what we do at our Krogers. And maybe even sometimes we take staff, or we go take time and we staff a local food bank. Hunger knows no affiliation. I give a big shout out to people that are out there raising money to buy coats for kids in the winter. That's not a republic. The kids are cold. Kids are hungry. Families are out. We have to help them where we live. We read in the paper the death of a baby and the problem of infant mortality. That's all of us. That's shared humanity. We need to work to destroy this evil of infant mortality and help these moms to have a baby and birth a baby and make sure that those babies are going to thrive. We need to wipe out infant mortality. When veterans come home, veterans, people that serve overseas, or any of the veterans, they need a job. How can we have sky-high veteran unemployment? What are we doing in our communities? We help our veterans. Everybody agrees with that. And how about when somebody's getting old? You know, I was out, maybe you didn't all know this, but I ran for president. And I was at this one town hall, and for some reason, I was in New Hampshire. I said, did anybody here lose a spouse? Guy raised his hand. So how long were you married? 60 years. When was the last time somebody took you out to dinner? It's been a while. Said, who's going to take you out to dinner tonight? Hands shot up. Our seniors, they need love, attention. Maybe sometimes it isn't convenient for us, but we need to do it. You see, I think that if we can begin to address these problems, if we begin to deal with them where we live, solving these problems will bring us together. And it's up to us. If we begin to work together, we'll be surprised at how much progress we can make. We'll begin to solve some of this. We'll begin to start a dialogue that can pull our country back together, because it ain't going to come from top down. It's got to come from us up. That's the only way this is going to work. And working on these issues together in our community brings us together. We need it. And I'm not asking us to travel around the globe to achieve world peace or work great miracles, but simply one person at a time, right where you live, start to rebuild the foundation of our nation, and that foundation is our people and our communities and our neighborhoods. That's where America's greatness lies, with all of us, right here in Sandusky. I tried to call Bernice King today. Today is the 49th anniversary of the assassination of Martin Luther King. I know Bernice King. She invited me to Atlanta on Martin Luther King Day. I took one of my daughters, and it was emotional. And I was on this panel. I was being interviewed, and there were a couple, 200-300 people, almost all minorities in there. Somebody raised their hand and said, well, what about Trump? I said, what about Trump? Let's talk about Dr. King. Dr. King didn't go to the big shots. The politicians ran the other way. Racial divide was too hot for them. Fixing the problem of race was too difficult for them politically. So what did King do? He worked the neighborhoods. He worked the communities. And I said to this person that asked that question, how's your neighbor? You know, folks, we can't give up on this. And I know sometimes the problem seems so big, but you know what? You save one life, you change the world. And we can't wait around for some politician to show up, any of us, to fix all this. Issues like this will never be solved in the State House alone, no matter how good our intentions are. The solutions have to start, just what I said. I'm getting to preaching now. House, church, school, our town square. And when we begin to work together on local concerns, we'll begin to understand one another, respect one another, like one another, and joke with one another again. And we'll rediscover the shared humanity, and it opens our ears and eyes to the views of others. We can heal our communities. We are seeing that pay off with a group we put together to strengthen community and peace and police relations. A cross-section of people, that's an understatement. Law enforcement, community activists, community organizers, politicians, everybody on this panel. The chairman, the two co-chairmen of it, Nina Turner. Watch her on MSNBC. She'll be on tomorrow, okay? And John Bourne, the former head of the Highway Patrol, they came together. We are the leader in fixing the problem of police and community in this country. You know why? They sat, they listened to one another, they got it fixed. And where do you read more about it? It's incredible. Sometimes I'm just amazed we got it done. Okay, folks, for all of this now, so now we got to celebrate a few people who do a good job. We got this guy, Dan Rogers. He's one such person and an outstanding representative of thousands more like him across Ohio. Dan's dedicated to serving and saving the neediest, most vulnerable among us. I can imagine Dan getting up every day and he's fighting against all kinds of things. I'll tell you who's watching, the Lord. I'll tell you what he's got, a book of life, and I'll tell you what he's doing. He's writing Dan's name in there, He leads this Cherry Street Mission Ministries, which is in Toledo. It started in 1947. A warm meal, a place to sleep, a message of hope. Toledo, Lucas County, they've run out of hope and they have nowhere else to go. He brings them in. Dan's work is a belief that his mission is not just to provide a safety net for broken lives, but also to be a springboard for helping the hungry and homeless to reconstruct their lives with the job skills and self-confidence that leads to gainful careers. He's doing it with the Life Revitalization Center, and he has reconstructed lives with training for jobs in call centers, auto body, building trades. He's now moving into tool and die, welding, and the culinary arts, and he gets people jobs, and more than 90% of them are still working who he places, and he's got them on the right track. He deserves a Courage Award for what he's doing to change and save lives in Toledo and Lucas County. Where is he? Okay, so everybody now is learning about human trafficking, okay? So my wife told me about this guy. I mean, I kind of knew him, but not that well. He's a judge. And we have our Chief Justice here. How about stand up, Chief Justice? Maureen O'Connor. Give her a round of applause. I tell you something, I love the judge. Let me tell you, nobody can beat her. She runs, I don't even know why people even put their name on the ballot. She's remarkable, but here's what's great about her. No politics. She plays no politics. I mean, she goes out, she's out there on promoting this anti-drug business. She's a leader in really the Midwest. You're something, Judge. No more pay raises right now, though, okay? No, I'm just kidding. All right. So we have Judge Paul Herbert. Let me tell you about what happened. All these ladies are going into this court, and he's checking them out. They're putting them all in jail. They find out they've been human trafficked. They're prostitutes because they got a pimp who's out there putting them on the street, drugging them, beating them, all the horrible things that we could imagine. And we heard Senator Coonsey talk about this. So the judge is the founder and driving force of Franklin County's Catch Court, CATCH, Changing Actions to Change Habits. He began to realize that these people were not criminals. They were really defendants. They were not defendants. They were victims. And they should not be subjected to criminal punishment and condemnation from which they may never recover. His Catch Court innovation diverts these victims into a 2-year program that may include residential detox therapy, treatment for depression and other mental illness. They're given an opportunity to continue their education. They get a driver's license, and they can get help to find and keep employment. And I know they've got some food delivery operations that are just unbelievable. And best of all, when they graduate, they have the opportunity to have their convictions dismissed and their records sealed. He has helped 200 women have the opportunity to get assistance. Now, when you're a judge, sometimes you got to work with the politics. Is he soft on crime? He didn't care. These women needed to be helped, and he would come hell or high water, he was helping them, and he has done it. And for that, I'm giving him a Courage Award. Judge Paul Herbert. Now, okay, got one more, okay? Damone Hudson, 24-year-old veteran bus driver, kind of reminds me of my daddy that carried the mail, but he worked for the Greater Dayton RTA. So he's driving on his regular route, he's crossing a bridge over the Great Miami River. You ever been on those bridges? He saw a woman standing outside the bridge railing. She was going to jump. He stopped his bus, tied everything up, he didn't care, and he asked the woman to step away from the edge. He talked to her, and then he asked her, "Would you like a hug?" Minutes later, the police arrived to help the woman to safety. He got back in the bus, went on his route. Here's the coolest thing. A security camera on the bus caught the exchange. The footage became an internet sensation. The whole world was aware of Damone Hudson's quiet act of compassion. It's an example of the difference just one person can make in the life of another. He saved a life. Who knows? He may have saved the world. But think about this guy. Think about us. He just took the time, he paid attention to somebody else, and kept somebody from jumping off a bridge and taking their life. Imagine their family, maybe the kids, maybe the grandkids, the spouse, loved ones. Damone saved this person. You see, you don't have to cause a miracle or bring about world peace. Damone is a guy that is a good example for all of us to make a difference. Damone, come on out. I can't wait to meet you. Okay, I believe that we work best when we believe in ourselves. It works best when we live a life a little bigger than ourselves. And etched in that wall of the Holocaust Memorial, you save one life, it's as if you save the world. I mean, folks, no problem is too big if we believe in ourselves. Love God and love your neighbor. Those are the two great commandments. The first one, humility. Love God. That means somebody greater and better than you. Love God. Love your neighbor. That's what brings out the best of us as human beings. You know, I went over there to that roller coaster park, or what, I mean, it's just unbelievable. And it's the thrill of Sandusky's famous roller coasters. It's going faster and higher. I don't know how it can go any faster or higher, but the machines only work when all the parts work together. Ohio's the same way. We can reach great heights, historic heights, but only if all of our state's pieces are working the right way. State government is just one of those pieces, and its role isn't to control or dictate, but to serve. The state of our state remains strong. The state of our state remains stable, but holding on to the progress we've made takes continued vigilance. Challenges await, and only by holding the line on conservative budgeting, fostering job creation, and recommitting ourselves to helping each other along our journey will we succeed in the coming years. Ohioans, yeah, us, we make Ohio great. Government's job is to help support the environment in which they can do that and get out of their way, right, Mr. Batchelder? Get the government out of their way and let them be successful. Help them, but then let them fly. And we've seen such great progress. Let's keep going just like those roller coasters, higher, faster, together. God bless America, and God bless Ohio. Thank you.
Please remain in your seats for the retirement of the colors. The chair recognizes President Pro Tem Senator Peterson for a motion.
Mr. President, the purpose of this joint session having been completed, I move that we adjourn.
Without objection, this joint session of the General Assembly is adjourned.
Couple more claps.